YouTube crew, what is going on? And welcome back to another video. Now today I'm going to teach you how to solo trio in Warzone, and this really applies to Rebirth and Verdansk. I'm going to be breaking down Rebirth gameplay, but the same tips really do apply to Verdansk as well. So as always, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Let's go hashtag trios down in the comments below, and let's get into it. Now the format for today's video is I'm going to be giving you a few different tips while rolling the early game here, and then we're going to go ahead and break down the rest of the gameplay, talking about how I successfully solo trio. But before we do, if you are looking to get better at Warzone, make sure you are subscribed with that notification bell turned on. I do videos every single day helping people get better at Warzone. And if you want to catch me live, I do live gameplay breakdowns, live commentaries over on Twitch, so make sure you drop a follow there as well. Now, the first thing is I need you to understand that solo trios is hard. It's supposed to be difficult. You are taking on a team of 3 by yourself. You're not always going to be successful. It is a difficult thing to do. But ultimately, we're going to try to implement a few different tips that will allow us to have more success and make it a little bit easier. So the most important thing is to take as little damage as possible throughout fights, and here's how we do that. First is by separating players from their squads. We need to make this a 1v1 3 times as opposed to a 1v3 situation. We're looking for people who are separated from their squad to ultimately get easier kills. The second is anticipation. You have to anticipate enemies and be ready for enemies so that ultimately you can get kills while taking less damage. And the third is you have to hit your shots. Anytime you miss shots, ultimately you're going to take more damage and put yourself in a tough situation. Next up is to reposition. You have to keep your enemy guessing as to where you actually are. The moment that they know where you are is the moment they're going to start to 2-stack you and 3-stack you. Now, the last tip I have for you is to be strategic about the fights that you take. If there's 3 people sitting in a room, there's a good chance that you're not going to win that fight. So we need to be strategic about the fights that we're taking. Now, let's break down the rest of this gameplay. So we're going to pick this up, popping a UAV to get a sense of where people are and rotating over to loadout. Now, I'm running the EM2 and the OTS-9 in this game. First thing that I notice is 2 people over in living quarters. One person in the closer building is on my level, and the other one is on the roof. So I'm going to go ahead and push over here, and this is where I talk about separating players, right? I'm able to get this guy. He's free, essentially because they're separated. I don't have to worry about anybody else. I just got to take him out. Now, I see this guy over on the roof. I get a quick peek there. Ultimately need to reposition. Now, you know, in this sense, I'm going to reposition back to this rooftop, and as I'm going up the ladder, I'm going to get shot here. Now, right about here, I probably should have pushed down. Instead, I ego challenged it, but, you know, you want to be careful about those situations. In this situation, there's nobody else around me, so I ego challenge. I'm going to go ahead and self-revive and ultimately get back into big living quarters building and played up. But you do want to be careful about ego challenging. Sometimes in solo trios, you're going to have to because you have no other option. But in that scenario, you know, technically I could have just moved back. So we're going to go ahead and push over this way. And I noticed that there is one 29 meters straight ahead of me. So he's obviously in this building, but I don't know if he's top floor, if he's bottom floor, if he's roof, where he is. So I want to play this a little bit careful here. And I noticed that his teammate was a little bit further back. So we're going to go ahead and play big living here and ultimately rotate over. Now, I cleared rooftop. I don't see anything rooftop. So, again, just confirm that he's there. I see that there's 2, right? So, there's 2 people on heartbeat. I would love to hit this jump spot, but I don't, which leads me to my next point of anticipation. Look at that centering. When I talk about centering, this is what I am talking about. I am anticipating him being there. I am literally centered right on him, and I'm ultimately able to get the down. Now, I took more damage than I would have liked, but notice his teammate. I know that his teammate is pushing over here, so I'm going to go ahead and reposition to this little ledge here, this little platform, and then go ahead and replay it up. Now I'm good to go. Now I'm good to challenge. We ultimately get the team wipe. And what I will say is, you know, if you ever play living quarters and you're in a similar situation to that guy, make sure you don't check that ledge. It's one of my favorite places to go to ultimately reposition played up before pushing back into that building. So, you know, if you're playing living quarters, just continue to not check that ledge and that platform. Now, right here, what I see is, you know, there's obviously people top lighthouse, so I'm going to go ahead and cluster that. I always use my clusters and precisions on that because, you know, those people need to leave. But as we're rotating over, I see 2 people top control, and I'm using my cover here. I'm keeping an eye on the minimap to ultimately make sure they're not peeking me, and I'm making sure that I have cover as I rotate over. So we're going to go ahead and play this we're going to play top skinny here, as we call it, and I'm going to get a quick down and a quick thirst right here. That's just hitting all your shots with the EM2. Yes, they need to fix the TTK in Rebirth in general. It needs to be a little bit longer, but that's besides the point. I'm going to go ahead and reposition here, right? I'm not going to play top skinny again. This guy now thinks I've moved. So a quick check just to see where he is. 31.4 to my left. I'm going to go ahead and challenge this. Now, the moment I see him turn his back, I assume that he is running away. So I end up playing stun. I didn't realize he was just going to peek top control. I thought he was going to try to get around the corner, so I was going to use the stun. Now we play fast. I ultimately see this guy out in the open. I'm going to go ahead and take him. I wish I hadn't fallen off there. I was getting shot from prison. I wish I'd pushed up, you know, behind that little wall there. Ultimately fell off, not a big deal. But this is where it's tough because now I don't know where anybody is. I don't have enough money for a UAV, and I don't have a heartbeat sensor. So we are strictly going off awareness here, going off of what I see, what I hear. So this is why you see me just keep pushing around. I'm going to go ahead and play rooftop here. Then I hear somebody below me. So I'm going to try to push here, ultimately see what I can find. I clear second floor. I clear first floor. Still not totally sure where they are. And I'm just, again, going to keep repositioning. Now I catch a dot. I have a sense of where somebody is. So I'm going to go ahead and push down. This guy only has a pistol. Pretty free and easy kill. Now, where's his teammates? His teammates are over by tunnel. So not really anything to be concerned about there. Now, I do have a fire sale here, which means I could rotate down. I probably should have rotated over to get UAV. But at this point, I'm going to go ahead and push rooftop, clear rooftop, ultimately go grab my heartbeat sensor again. Right on cue, precision from the buy station. And I know where that person is. He pops up on the map, but he's not on my heartbeat. He's ghosted. So again, as I mentioned before, I think I had mentioned it before, that a lot of people are ghosted this game. It makes it really tough to ultimately figure out where people are, especially in Rebirth. But it's something that you deal with in Verdansk. And look, while we are breaking down gameplay here from Rebirth, these same tips apply to Verdansk. You know, separating opponents, ultimately anticipating your enemies, repositioning. What you don't deal with as much in Verdansk is, you know, third partying. So you're strictly handling one team at a time. So again, going and just playing fast, and I'm going to go ahead and peek this way. And right there, I catch a glimpse of this guy. So I'm going to go ahead and cut over here. And instead of just sitting in this corner waiting, I'm going to go ahead and challenge this guy. So I'm going to slide around. Boom, we hit all the shots. We don't take any damage there. And notice two pings. There's the one, I just pointed with my finger as if you could see my finger. There's the one over this way, and there's the ghosted guy down here. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of this ghosted guy again. Let's get the ghosted players out. I know he's over here somewhere. I'm just not totally sure. So I'm going to use this precision airstrike to my advantage here. So I'm going to precision right in the middle of the two buildings. He's going to panic. He's ultimately going to push straight over. I'm going to tag him a little bit. Now I'm going to get the down in the thirst. Now let's keep playing fast, ultimately keep pushing. I know that there's one over intense. So I'm going to go ahead and play that way. I'm going to pop UAV. And there is a certain pace factor to this, guys. If you're playing solo trios, you need to be playing quick. You need to be playing quick. So I'm going to go ahead and push up here. Because what you don't want is them to regain and ultimately start to 3-stack you. So I have an advantage here because I know this guy right here is flying in. But this guy's by himself. So I'm going to go ahead and anticipate this guy. I'm going to center perfectly. I'm going to hit him. Boom. Down. Thirsted. Let's go get the last ghosted guy. He is ghosted. If he was on radar, maybe you think about farming. But he's ghosted. So I want him out of the game. And he was trying to figure out what guns. He was trying to pick up guns. So what ends up happening here is there were a bunch of people top prison. I rotated over. I grabbed Lighthouse. Ultimately, they all had rotated elsewhere, and they weren't on top roof. So I'm going to go ahead and push over. I'm flying over here, and I ping that guy to get a sense of where he's moving to. And right then, I see this guy to my right, and this is where I talk about separating enemies. You know, this guy's separated from his team, so I'm going to go ahead and get that. I'm going to get that thirst. Obviously, you could have self-revive. You'll see it right there. Again, two ghosted below me is just absolutely brutal. Because it makes it much more difficult to push. I mean, I know they're in there, you know, and I can hear them running below me. I can hear the footsteps. I can hear the doors closing. And I'm just trying to wait to get a little bit of an advantage. This is where, you know, you play a little bit slower, a little bit more strategic. If they're both on the bottom floor and I just go to push in there, that's probably not a winnable situation. It's going to be a tough win. There's only two of them. So it is winnable, but it's going to be tough. You got to play it very well. So I'm just trying to wait, and I hear him pushing up the stats. I get him broken there, and I'm going to reposition. Now, a lot of you may have pushed that situation, but ultimately, I don't know where his teammate is. If his teammate's right on his hip and I push that, I'm dead in that scenario. So trying to use what I can to my advantage, and this is where, you know, you start to recognize what's around you. I'm going to go ahead and use stun grenades. I'm going to stun top floor to see if he's in there. I got nothing. So, you know, now at this point, you know, 15 kills. It's me versus 6 other people. You know, we're in a good spot. 25 seconds. You can see that I'm starting to slow this game down a little bit and ultimately focus a little bit less on solo trioing and a little bit more on getting the dub here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my heartbeat sensor again, and we're going to go ahead and push around. Just trying to see if anybody's down here. Obviously, I know I still have the ghosted players over there, but, you know, if there is somebody on radar, I want to know. And I think about doing it. I think about doing it, and then I'm like, no, that's probably not the smartest thing to do. That's probably not the smartest. With stuns, I probably should have pushed down that way with stuns, but ultimately wasn't I ended up not doing it. So we're in a good, decent spot here. I rotated a little bit early there. I love my gas mask plays, but rotated a little early, and I catch this guy right above me. Now I'm going to go ahead and challenge this guy because I kind of have no choice. I have the team right to the right of me in the skinny side, so I will go ahead and challenge that, ultimately get the full kill there. Now we are at 16 kills. 4 other people left. I'm in actually a pretty good spot here. I'm holding circle. I do have low ground as opposed to high ground, which, you know, is a tough spot to be in, but I'm going to go ahead and get that down. Obviously, I know I have this team up here. You know, and this is where we talk about Battle Royale. Sometimes they're just a little bit of luck. And yes, Rebirth is a mix between Battle Royale and multiplayer. So, you know, this is where we talk about I just don't get a circle pull here, guys. There's nothing I can do in this scenario. It pulls literally, not only does it pull to the team, it pulls to them who have high ground. So what you're going to see here is ultimately I get this last kill. Obviously 1v2. And there's just nothing I can do. I have no gas mask. You know, maybe the lesson to be learned there is don't burn your gas mask too early. That guy was ghosted up there. He had high ground. Not much I can do. Obviously, as you see there, 17 kills in the solo trio. So hope you found today's video helpful. As I always say, let's get better today, and I will see you tomorrow.